Welcome to Burning Bridges podcast. My name is Taimana.
And I'm Renee.
We started this podcast through my own life experiences and the journey to healing. I have always been curious of what others have gone through and the moments that defined them.
Here we believe in the power of storytelling, from raw, unfiltered, exclusive conversations with everyday to high-profile people.
Like, follow, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. Let's get into this episode.
The following episode may contain discussions of sensitive and potentially distressing topics. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This content is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners, for informational purposes only, and does not constitute professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
G'day, I'm Luke Brown. I'm doing a documentary called Going Pro, and I've been very fortunate enough to be invited here today by Renee and T to do a podcast with Burning Bridges.
Thanks for being here and agreeing. I actually, when I reached out to you, but I don't expect to get a message back. And the next day I was like, yes, he's messaged me back. And because I've been looking at what you're doing with your documentary, Going Pro, with the golf to go make the Australian Open in 2027. And I've been following your journey with that, and you're up to episode 7. Is that right?
Yeah, it'll be released next week. I hope.
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, probably
perfect.
It'll be out. It'll be out already.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued in your journey and what you're doing. So your age, you're in your 40s.
45 this year.
45 this year,
yep.
And I don't know if anyone. If there is, that's gone pro in any type of sport in the 40s.
No, I wouldn't. I had a quick search. It's very hard. I'm not the best researcher, but no, I wouldn't think with my lack of background in golf that it's been done. There has been older fellas that have won and done things. When Channel 7 got hold of it, people have done it before, and they put Phil Mickelson up there in the same article, and I was like, putting me in the same category as Phil Mickelson is crazy, but thanks Channel 7. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But no, I would say there's good reason for it, for sure. But at the end of the day, like I'm serious about it, but just got to do the work and then see where it takes you.
Yeah, well, we'll dive more into that towards the end, but let's start with where you're born and where you grew up and what your childhood was like.
Yeah, I was born in Moree, just over the Queensland-New South Wales border, farming community, and I was only really born there. Mum and Dad were working on a farm at a place called North Star, and so it was farming community. My grandfather went out that way after the war, and they farmed wheat and livestock, sheep, on very marginal country. And I was on the farm until about 4 or 5 years of age, and then that was no longer an option. Dad sort of moved away then off the farm, and so I grew up in Goondiwindi for most of my life. Dad worked within the ag space, and growing up in Goondiwindi was, looking back, very fortunate. Country town, Australia back in the day. It was rugby league and cricket. That was it. There was no other sports, and that was cool. It was simple, and it was having the boys around. It was good. Riding bikes to training. Riding bikes to school. Just the standard stuff that you're lucky enough to do as a kid. Hanging out down the river, and it was all it was very competitive, very competitive environment. I think anything we did, whether it was throwing a tennis ball at each other, threw rocks at each other every day. Like, as my kids say, I say, but you kids, like, I didn't get a phone until I was 24 years old. You know what I mean? And they said, well, what did you do when you were younger? I was like, well, there's this one trick that got me once, and I never forgot it. My mate threw the rock up in the air, and I was like, what is he doing? Just kept an eye on it because it was coming at me. While I kept an eye on it, he's launched another one real fast, hit me in the throat. And I never forgot that day. I thought, okay, we're playing dirty. You know what I mean? That's how we're going to be throwing rocks now, eh? Right, and I've used that trick many times on my own kids with tennis balls or something, a bit less violent. but it was really competitive environment. I was on the sporting front. I wasn't a very naturally talented sports person. I was pigeon-toed and you know, probably I wasn't aggressive at all. I remember watching a video when I was about 10 that Dad had filmed playing rugby league, and I was, everyone had tackled old mate. There's 3 blokes on the fella, and then I come in 4th player and sort of just put my hand on him. And Dad and Mum start laughing there. That's it, Lukey, good work, you know. And that was probably a pivotal moment for me to realise that shit, they're mocking me. Like I did not tackle that bloke, you know. What I mean? And so in a small country town where a big focus was on sport, and that was a big part of our community, I really then, probably before I was already, but I became obsessed with just visualisation and manifestating, which I didn't really know until looking back now. Like I was not that good of a cricketer. I remember a girl made the rep team, Megan White, who went on to play for Australia, but I remember Dad driving us over to watch Goondiwindi, and I'm like, why am I here? Like, I'm not in the team. Like, it sucks. And then here's Megan. She's out there. A girl's in the team. Like, back then, now you'd probably be okay with it because you're like, you know, there's more opportunities. But back then, it was just unheard of. And I remember thinking to myself again, I was like, oh, I'm shit. Like, I'm so shit. And I just remember just in those little years where there was little challenges at home, my escape was to go into this mindset of playing a test match on my own, and I would bat from 1 to 11, and I'd go at the back and I'd just bowl at the tramp, or with the football I'd be just kicking it all the time. And then over the space of a couple of years, my ability just improved, and then all of a sudden I was captain of the team, the rep team, and then I was scoring runs, and then in the league I started learning how to tackle, and so then I was starting to do all right in the footy, and so that's when I think back of my childhood out in Goondiwindi. It goes to sport, it goes to the competitive yet productive nature. You know, there was it was pretty good. I'm very grateful when I hear some of Mum's stories from growing up in Cronulla down in Sydney. I feel very fortunate that Goondiwindi was the place where I grew up, because it just, or most of my tight mates today, and I was speaking to 2 of them on the way here, like they're from primary school, you know, like we've got a group and they're all primary school mates from Goondiwindi that are now wherever. And I think that's very fortunate, because you can tell them blokes to get, you know, you can call them anything, you know, we can really get into it, and it's not going to change anything. It's just like you're accepted as who you are, and, you know, we need to be respectful. We need to keep growing. We are, but yeah. So I think that was a beautiful.
Is that in banter, or is
Generally
it like you can
banter.
call each other out without getting offended?
We're probably calling each other out more now than ever before, and I think I've played some part in that in the journey I'm on with going pro and this change in my life. And I also think one of my best mates, if not my best mate, he's battling a terminal illness. So him and I, yeah, he's fuck. I knew. I've never really spoken about it outside, but it's just a strange thing. Like he rang me and said, I've got cancer, you know, and it happens. It's not uncommon. It happens all the time. My father-in-law just said, these 2 of his mates have got it. It's just like, so, but it was more just a real turning point, because that was before I started going pro. Oh, sorry guys. But I'd been on this journey of like discovery of myself from as long as I can remember, you know, like I'd been on this journey of what is this whole thing about, you know, like what is the point of life? So anyway, I'm probably getting a bit off track and not getting on, not sticking to the timeline.
No,
You're-
go.
you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
So he's probably been a massive because through him battling that, that has made me, and like we've spoken daily for the last 3.5 years. So we've been on this roller coaster, and I think the way what he continues to deal with, like the knowing that, because the problem with what he's got too is even if he goes to the hospital and they say, oh, it's looking really good, like there's no cure for multiple myeloma, and he's read this article where if a guy got cured and then a year later he was dead. So no matter what result he gets, in his head, it's always just it's up to someone else, and he's doing everything he can. So he's running, he's been off the piss, and so yeah, he got off the alcohol straight away, and then so I went off it with him because I was trying to build his trust, so that he could open up and we could try and digest it and work out, are we fighting it, are we accepting it, and that's been a massive learning, and we're still learning, and our relationship's just been getting stronger and stronger, and we've been pushing each other harder and harder, and like our bond is getting tighter. Yeah.
What a
Every
beautiful friendship.
It is. And then I think through that and through his story, definitely the rest of our mates, we've now talking more than ever. And some of the boys are a bit busier, so they're having less chat, I've learned. I was thinking, wonder why Knipey's not saying too much. He's flat out at work. He's like pushing hard. But the comms between the boys and the amount of exercise they're doing and the amount of piss that they're not drinking, like it's evident, like we know it to be true. Like we know when we go to these events now, we're going to run 120k over 4 days, over 5,000 metres. Like we're going to do this, and then the boys don't want to run. They're cool. They're just coming and they're just supporting and they're just pushing, and that's how we're hanging out, and that's very different to getting on the piss and whatever else that might go with that, and then decisions that are made or conversations that are had that get out of control, and really you don't really care about what you were just talking about, but you were pissed, so you end up having an argument about something that doesn't mean anything to you. So it is a beautiful time. I think right now I remember hearing when I was young and battling with my own head that life begins at 40. I remember hearing it and I remember going, fuck, I hope so. I really hope so. And I don't agree with it because it's already begun. Like you're already in it, but I get I get it. And but I'd say there's been a lot of signs to me now that it's definitely it starts to make a lot more sense than what it does when you're a bit younger.
I'm literally in the 50s now.
Yeah.
I'm in there.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to hitting 50. I've got to be honest.
It just begins.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happened for me at 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of turning 50, that's for sure.
No, I won't be, mate. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm really trying to enjoy the ride, but it just seems to go so fast.
Yeah.
Like every single day, without a shadow of a doubt. It's not Groundhog Day because it's not like I'm trying to reflect on. I'm journaling a lot now, more than ever, to recognise what I did do today, and to try and get into that mindset that I'm going to do that same thing tomorrow. So just to stay in that engaged centre. Yeah. But yeah, it just seems to go so fast, and it does. Like I wake up, and most days I go, well, this day's going to be over real fast, and then I think, why have I got to think that? Why can't I just, what is this? Just be happy. Just don't overthink. And what is all this? So I'm on that journey. Like I'm definitely in the best position to assess it, and I'm 100 the best I've ever been mentally. Physically, I would have been much stronger at 18. I'm sure. The back and all the body was better then, and all of that. But definitely that lets you know too, doesn't it? Like the body, it tells you you're getting old. Like there's no doubt about that.
Just going back to your childhood and what was your schooling like? Have you got siblings?
Yeah, I've got a
what-
brother and a sister younger than me. Case 2 years, Cordy 7 years. Schooling, mate. We were a little Catholic school in Goondiwindi. We were that was a good little school. There was 2 schools, and Mum and Dad sent us there, and then went to high school in Gundy for 3 years, and then a little funny story which may not be worth listening to or not, but Dad, we didn't have, Dad was working his ass off and he was trying to give us opportunities, and he wanted to send us away to boarding school to broaden our horizons. And I remember him coming home one day and he's like, "Righto, Lukey, you're going to sit for scholarships." I said, "Academic?" And he said, "Yeah, academic." I said, "Dad, mate, in case you haven't realised, like I'm not an academic, I'm not that smart." And he goes, "Mate, I don't want to hear it. They're multiple choice." I said, "Okay." He said, "So mate, you're a chance. They're multiple choice." And I remember thinking, whatever. So I sat for like 5 schools straight up, like whenever it was a mission for them to take me around and go and sit for the. Lo and behold, I didn't get one. You know what I mean? And I remember reading the questions going, "Nope, no idea. D, maybe 2 Ds. Like, maybe I'll go A." And I remember just thinking, what a waste of time. But through that process, and hats off to Mum and Dad, like there was a guy that passed away and from out our way, and he left money in a bursary. So I got a scholarship to Southport down the Gold Coast. And then in the end, my brother went there a couple of years later and he got it for like nearly nothing. So we were very fortunate, Mum and Dad, to get us to head out of Gundy for a few years and try and expand. I ended up going back to Goondiwindi when I finished school and just worked there on a cotton picker, and then worked for Grain Corp in a harvesting site role. And then it wasn't until I went overseas with my girlfriend at the time, and then I moved back to Brisbane, and pretty much I didn't go back to Goondiwindi until we went there when we started the business in about 15 years ago. And then, but we left there probably 10, 11 years ago.
What was that like for you going from the country to the Gold Coast in Southport?
Oh, mate, it was a spin out. Like I remember distinctly. It was a spin out. It was overwhelming, and I wanted to go home when I got there. And not being an academic, I found it was like they were speaking Japanese in class, and I'd just ring Mum and I'd say, "Mum, like I've got to get out of this class," and she'd be like, "You'll be right, just do your best." I said, "Mum, they're speaking Japanese." She's like, "Oh, you can't understand a word?" I said, "Nah." She goes, "Oh, we'll pull you out of Maths B and put you into Maths C or whatever." And I just sit there. I was sort of lost to the academic system for sure, like a lot of kids, but really wanted to play footy. First 15 was what I wanted to do, and I was lucky enough to get 2 years in the firsts, and really that was I'd just sit in class just thinking about what I did on the weekend or what's coming up this weekend. I'd just stare at the ibises, or if it was cricket, it was the same thing. But footy really, it was the highlight. You know what I mean? There was big crowds. You got to run out in front of them. It was just it was sick. That was great. I was very grateful for the exposure that Mum and Dad afforded us, and their desire to try and give us opportunities, which was really cool.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was a challenge. Goondiwindi was a very different place. Like in Goondiwindi, didn't matter who you are. Like you we're all part of the team. Like, but then you get up there and it was a bit more of this like sort of ego was you used to get away with murder being in the first. So I remember I just get away with heaps in the house, in the boarding house. It was like, "Oh, we just won. I'm going out," and the boarding must be like, "Yeah, that's right. Didn't have. And I was just like, "Oh, this is good." So I started really enjoying being away from home when I made the firsts, and life was pretty cruisy back then.
Party life, eh?
And then partying. But if I look back at how I was partying then before I was 18 and the drinking I was doing and how I was acting, my ego was sort of out of control. You know what I mean? It was like you thought you were bigger than what you were. And I'm sure that's just a kid, growing up and whatnot. But definitely it then started to spiral then when I got home and you were playing footy and you came home, and I remember coming back to Gundy, and I remember the energy, I could feel energy around me was really positive everywhere I turned. And then once I started playing up a bit, I could feel the shift. Like I could. Like it's not just reflecting now, but I could feel it at the time. You know, you started hanging out with the boys that, you know, were a little bit looser, and you know, you're drinking heavy before a game, you know, and then even one game, I remember taking drugs before a game, and I remember just being out there. My heart rate was just through the roof, and I just remember, I couldn't catch the ball. Like my brain and my hands wouldn't work. It was just like I was 5'8", so I was like, "Here's the ball," and just kept dropping it. And I remember thinking, "Wow." So it was really bad. So it was a really bad time. It was the greatest time of my life in some aspects, playing footy locally and just the parties and the mates and all that sort of stuff. But through it, there was a lot of down days where I was keeping it all under wraps because that's what you did, you know.
How old were you then?
Oh, between 17 and probably 20.
Yeah.
That was a period where I was out in Gundy, and and then I went overseas.
You actually worked on the farms and stuff while you were there playing footy.
Yeah,
Cotton picking and stuff.
Yeah,
so
Dad
you're always used to that hard labour then.
Yeah, work ethic has never been a problem. Like I think Dad and Mum definitely instilled that. Like they were blue collar, and it was, you know, I remember I said to Dad, when I was at school, I'm going to go to Coolangatta with the boys. You know, he's like, yeah. I said, yeah. Well, that's what. Can I? Like that's what everyone's doing. He said, nah, mate. Nah, you're cotton chipping. And Mum was thinking, mate, like everyone's going. He's like, I don't give a shit, mate. And I remember like we fronted each other. I remember I was scared. I was like, if I hit that, I'm going to cop it. Like, but I wanted to. And he held firm. And I think it was a very good lesson for me to learn at that time. And I think he was very right in standing his ground and saying, mate, you're working because we can't afford it. And there's no way you're going down there and I'm going to pay $2,000 for you to go and drink piss for a week with your mates. You know what I mean? I don't think he saw that as being anything that would set me up for life, and he would be correct. Yeah. So I think that's where the work ethic come from.
Yep.
No, yeah.
And you went overseas. Where'd you go?
Yeah, mate, we went to America. That was interesting, and then London. And then Kate and I, we busted up when we got back. But that was good. I remember getting back from overseas and feeling like I'd become more confident and more worldly, and I remember feeling pretty good at that time within myself, even though it was pretty loose when we were over there. And then come back, really just from overseas to about 24 was probably the wildest times. You know, that's what's sort of spoken about in episode 1. You know, those shots of me on. You know, like that was before I had a phone, and it was like Thursday to Sunday. So you'd work Friday, but you'd probably have a fair few Thursday. You'd get work out of the way, and then you would be on it for the rest of the weekend, and you'd get to Monday. And you'd still probably be feeling all right. Tuesday, you'd be starting to be in a bit of a dark place. Wednesday, probably pretty dark hole. Thursday, starting to come out of the dark hole, and good timing because you're going to do it again. and so that was pretty solid. I remember, to give you an example of how loose it was, and you know it's all relative, but I remember back home, one of our friends had a friend over, and she said, she just wants a packet of smokes. And I remember thinking, I've been drinking heaps, and I said, yeah, I'll just drive up to the night house, like a K away. I don't know why he wouldn't walk. I was probably like 3 Ks away. Here to there, sweet. 24 hour, no chance getting done by cops. So I go around there, it's closed. So then I go to Indrapilli, and here, lo and behold, here's the wave and everyone in. And I just said to myself, I'm too drunk. I'm not stopping because I'll be over. So I try to go around them, and caused all kind of chaos, and I end up here, you know. And lo and behold, like I get a fine, I get done for drink driving, and this was the level of stupidity and like delusion I had. I was like, I lost the ticket, and then I just ignored it. Like I just said, well, that's on them. They shouldn't have gave me a ticket drunk. And then my mum rang me one day, and she said, "There's 2 police officers here. They got a warrant out for your arrest." You know, and I was like, "What?" Anyway, they stitched me up. I spent 3 days in the watch house and went to court on the Monday morning, and there was a whole story around that. But it was it was definitely one of those moments where, and the boys I was in the watch house with for 3 days, there were some shady characters in there that probably deserved to be in there. I didn't feel like I did, but looking back now, just no boundaries and just loose and just up and down hard, on this style of life, and I'm grateful for it, because I think I'm glad to be where I am today and doing what I'm doing, and maybe I wouldn't be if I didn't go through those times.
Were you just hanging around the wrong people, or you just felt?
No, I don't. I just didn't. My mum and dad were very open about things, and I think that was a good thing in a lot of ways. But I just liked. It was more of an escape. I think I was insecure, and I found in those binging periods, like I just wasn't having any. I just was not where I was before, and it was just like, oh, this is sweet. Like, I love the loose, just cruise here, meet randoms, end up in their house, and you don't even know who they are. The next day you're like, I don't even know what their names are. I don't even know what we were talking about. And you're on their couch, and but then it just kept happening, and I think it was just escape, and I think I just preferred it. But then the hole that you'd be in, it was pretty solid. Like, but again, I was probably looser than a lot of the boys I was hanging around. Like, I think a lot of the fellas have better memories through those times than me. For some reason, I would enter blackout, especially in with alcohol. I would enter the blackout, and then you'd go, well, what time was that? And they'd say, mate, that was at 4. And then you'd think back and you're like, oh, remember this happened? They go, yeah. I said, what time was that? They said, oh, that'd be like 9, 10. And I'd be thinking that was the last thing I could remember. So then I'm out in public space for hours, or even if it's private, but I'd love to know what blackout means scientifically, or what it means, but I know it's not good, because I know that the brain is actually not in a good state, because and that was the problem, just no off switch. Like, you'd start feeling pissy, and you'd want to chase that feeling. So then you'd get into the heavier drinks, and you were a fast drinker because you had a bit of social anxiety, and all of a sudden it's just, and you just spend years. So that was a period of time, and then met Morgan, and just slowly started, quite quickly really, in a lot of aspects, because I was ready. Like, a mate passed away around about the same time I met Morgs, and I remember talking to him a lot, because I remember when the coffin hit the cemetery floor, there was this crazy wind that picked up, and we had to grab the marquee that his parents were under. And that's when it's probably the first and probably nearly the only sort of connection to something that strongly I've had. And I just went, wow, like maybe there's, So I just started talking to Timmy and just asking him for help. And I think through that, call it whatever, like my wife saying that was you starting to, that was you putting out there what you wanted. So yeah, just started. I started that a path. If I look back, that's a pivotal. I feel like that's a pivotal time in my life where I was like, I just wanted out. Yeah.
When you were talking about that you were drinking to escape, but you also mentioned that you had insecurities. Were you escaping your insecurities, or was there something else?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I think I was always just, not. It was just a front. Like, deep down, you probably, you weren't. Yeah, probably just wasn't looking at myself favourable. I think it got worse. Like, I think when you'd hear things that you do, and you couldn't comprehend doing them, it was hard not to take that personally. And your mates around you say, mate, no, you were fine, and it was like, and then when I'd quit drinking, I remember quitting drinking for like 3-6 month stints over a period of years, and I remember people saying, oh mate, what are you doing? You'll be, we all do this and we all do that. And I remember thinking, well, it just didn't feel like that. It just felt like I was the one I was doing the stupidest shit, and I just couldn't find. So I suppose it was just the insecurities and
when your mate passed away, and there was a pivotal moment for yourself to realise that that's not the life that you want to be in.
yeah.
So what'd you do from there?
Yeah, I started asking for help. Like I'm sure I'd seen some psychologists before that, or at least one. Like when I did that drink driving episode where I tried to just will it away, I think I went and saw a psych through that because I was going to defend myself in court by saying I was going to AA, and it's just like so delusional. I just really was just over it. Like I was just really over this emotional strain that I just kept finding myself on, and I just wanted out. Like I just wanted to settle down. I remember asking for a woman. Like I just wanted a woman. I just wanted to be stable. I just wanted to not go out. Like maybe I was thinking that was the answer. It was like I remember asking. I was like, and then I went and studied marketing, and I was like, I'd put it out there that I wanted to find my wife, and I did. It's weird, and that's why this journey I'm on now, it's like things have happened when I really asked for it and I really wanted change. I got change. It might not have happened quickly, but if I look back at it, it's like I was asking and I was pushing and I wanted it, and I didn't know what to do. But definitely met Morgan, and I think once that was a challenging little period between the two kids that were born, Daisy with my ex Kate and Lily with Morgs, and through that we all had a tough gig and we all worked our way through it, and I think that started to build confidence too. The three of us, Kate, Morgs, and I, with our girls. And that started to build some confidence within, and I was like very grateful. And then I think Morgan started studying psychology, and I remember when she started studying psych, I remember just challenging sections of that degree with what I was challenged with, and then it was just like it started to explain a lot of stuff a lot clearer to me, and it wasn't. Like I used to think psychologists could read your mind, like a lot of people did at the time. I remember when I'd introduce Morgan, say she's studying, so, oh, you're reading my mind. And I remember thinking, mate, you're supposedly smart. Like that is the stupidest thing you could say. But a lot of people used to say it. So I remember learning through that and this stigma, and everyone's like worried here. Like they're worried. Why are they worried? I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, so I was seeing psych, I was learning from what Morgs was studying, and once I was learning about trauma and that if you don't deal with it, the problem-solving part of your brain can cease to develop at that age. Like it was key little things which made certain issues I had in my life easier to deal with it. Like it was like, so once I just learned, and my view on psych at the start when she studying to the end was just like, it's just worlds apart. It was like challenging everything to just asking more questions and wanting to know more and wanting to understand why. So just constantly asking why, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's a common question too, is why. There's a lot of whys.
Yeah.
Why we're here, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life type thing. And so you've got a family at this stage. You've got Morgan.
Got a couple of young. It was complicated, you know what I mean? Like it was really complicated. Daisy had Kate had just had Daisy. I've been with Kate for a long time, and then we separated, but we'd been off and on, and then I just met Morgs. So that was, and then within not long after meeting Morgs, then all of a sudden she said, "I'm pregnant." It's like, well, we go, we got a bit on here now, and I think having Daisy and Lil so close, and then working that through with Kate and Morgs, I think that's when I really started to get the growth individually and really get the change was having kids. And then it was challenging through those early years, and then Pippa she come along a few years later. But as you were still battling these demons, and you were still having nights. You know what I mean? They just became far less, you know, but you were still having nights where you'd go home and you'd be just like, what the hell, you know? And then you wouldn't have one for ages, and then you get off the piss for 6 months, and then all of a sudden another one pop up, so back off the piss again, you know what I mean? But I think too, turning point was seeing my kids grow up and seeing them young, and everything that they did that was like that they were challenged with, like whether it was emotionally or whatever, I would immediately just go, oh, that's from me. You know, everything that was a challenge or remotely close to being something that was negative, I would just be like, wow. Like, but through that process, I started to learn more too. So I think kids really helped me, you know, when I looked at the innocence and they were just there. There's nothing they're doing is, there's no problem. Like we you know what I mean? And then once I started to see these kids with their own little nuances, I started going, oh, right, okay. It's genetic. Like, so just starting to look at nurture and genetic, you know, like very sensitive kid I was, and mum and dad had a few blues here and there, and I think I struggled with that in some ways. But at the same time, looking back now, I actually think it was not as big an impact as I thought it was, because I just think it's more who are you, like how do you, well, it's more about, I think it's more about how we're made. Like I think I haven't really changed since I was born, you know, like I've always been emotional. I'm still emotional. I do care. I overthink, but now I can get control of those thoughts because I've got discipline, you know, and I've got purpose, I suppose. I've got a bit of a vision.
And what work are you doing around this time?
Around that time, I was working in a meat factory, and I had 3 jobs. I was working at the markets, the Brisbane markets, driving a forklift and packing orders. I was delivering meat. I remember at that time, saying, oh God, I just got to make money. Like I've got to get a sales job to provide for these kids. And so I went and studied marketing, and that's where I met Morgs, that diploma. And I would have quit. Like if I didn't meet Morgan, I would have quit. Yeah, I lost my license not long into that degree, into that diploma, and Morgs offered to pick me up because she said it was on her route. And then that started our relationship and kick-started it. Yep. And she was young and naive, and she had no idea what she was getting herself in for, and thank God. And so I was just doing anything to provide, like, or just to cover my costs. I remember when I was studying, I had not much money. And then, I got that diploma, started selling business cards and letterheads, like print, without a license. So I'd have to ride a bike or catch a bus to a sales meeting. And so that was a tough little period. I had my license for out of time. And then through that, got a job in recruitment. My brother had finished his degree. So we both started the same day working in recruitment. And then that was at about age 24, 25. I went from selling business cards and letterheads to selling labour services in the construction and landscaping industry. And I mean, that was just relentless. You know, that was like 14 hours a day, and I liked it. That's through that little period there. Yeah, that's when we actually had Lily, was when we moved away, and there was a few complications with her pregnancy, and we moved to Mackay, and then in the end we came back. So we came back to Brizzy. I think I was about 27, and we were living with Morgan's parents, and that wasn't doing much for my ego or self-esteem. And I remember every time her dad would get home from working in New Guinea, he'd be like, come on, we're going up to the cafe to have, lunch. And I'd say, no, I'm not going. He'd say, mate, we're all going, Morgan would be like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, Dad's going to pay. I said, that's exactly it. Like, I'm just not comfortable with it. It's just every time he comes home, he's paying. And I said to him, I'm not paying. Like, I'm not going. Like, I won't go because I can't afford it. And so I remember that was that period where I was like really feeling pretty shit about myself. Like, come on, you got to do something, And then I was working, like I was busting gut, midnight shift out the markets and all this sort of stuff. And then we come up with a business idea, which was not new. It was just do labour hire in the ag space, and we were doing a bit of that. And then we just started a business, And I remember Morgan's parents, Pat and Leslie, they said, oh, we're going to get married. And they said, well, we'll give you 20 grand for your wedding. And I was like, what? Wow. I said to Morgs, I said, babe, we've got to have a cheap wedding. Can we keep the money if we don't spend it? And she went and asked them, and they said, yeah, you can. And I said, we got to go cheap, real cheap. So anyway, she accommodated, and we got the wedding venue for $70 at Esk Hall, and we had wood-fired pizzas. My dad paid for the grog. So I think we saved about $13,000. And then I put that as part of a 20 or 40K thing that I'd worked. It must have been part of 20, case 20, me 20. And we started business with 40 grand for websites and, all the bits and pieces. And then from sort of the age of 28 until now, that's been my life, So my kids have only ever known me to be involved in this business, and until now with what I'm doing, but just ran and never stopped running, and had a very supportive wife. But with days being away with Kate and being a bit further away, that really drove my engagement at home. It was hard not seeing Daisy, and that sparked me to make the most of it at home. So I think I'll even over the years I've been able to, when I come home, it was reading a book, it was just doing those little things. Like I don't have regret about the time I put into the kids, and I don't have regret about what I did in business. But there's no doubt about it was just sink or swim, and sinking just wasn't an option. Like it was just this is it. Like there's no plan B. There's no alternative. It doesn't matter how I feel. It really doesn't. You just have to do it. And luckily Morgs was very hardy, and she could handle a home life without me there. And I'd have to ring her and say, hey, how you going? You can call me, babe, But then a lot of mates said, geez, you're lucky. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't need you, and that's a big thing. She's a strong woman. So that was the business and until now.
For those that are into business or startups, what's the biggest learning that you had to endure?
Don't quit for at least 5 years. Like just don't even think about quitting. Like no matter what happens, you got to be prepared to go 5 years. The statistics prove that small businesses, 80% of them fail in the first 5 years. So we were never going to quit, but it was like after 5 years, you could start to see a little bit of a light there at the end of the tunnel.
What's hurdles you faced in those first 5 years?
Well, it was like the first 5 years were probably the best in some ways, because you just were all running, and you just the little wins that, like, you were getting a win back then. And compared to now, like you'd be saying, why are we doing that? Like you say to your sales manager, why are we doing that job? But whereas back in the day, it was a different. It really just ran on the smell of an oily rag, and we just ran as hard as we could, and we got people in that ran, and it was quite fun because everyone that was in there was running. We didn't have office politics. It was like, if you can't keep up, that's okay. There's no sacking anyone. It's just like there's a pace. And the pace is this fast, and that's how it's got to be, because we can't. It's either we're going to die, like we got to make it. I don't know. Like I see these serial entrepreneurs, and every idea they come up with is worth $1 million, and I'm like, you're kidding yourself, bud. Write that thing down on paper and show me how you're going to make money out of it. Show it to me if it's still good after you've written it down. And I reckon 99 times out of 100, when I write them down, they're shocking. I'm like, that idea, that's a cracker. Write it down, look at it the next day and go, that's either going to take heaps of work, heaps of resources, or whatever it is. You got to deal with government, and then you realise it's not that good of an idea. So for me, when I think about learnings and I think about business, I think you need to really managing your expectations. The biggest learning, it's not your staff's problem, the stress you're under. I think team sports and my upbringing helped with that. It was like I felt humbled that someone was working for us. So it was not ask them to do anything that you wouldn't do. And as you grow, that changes. But I think respect, like just managing your stress. So like I would have loved to have not been suppressing my pressure with alcohol. Like I would have loved if I was getting up and doing fitness routine and drinking water and eating healthy, and I would have been even better at being able to manage that. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is a critical thing, and if you're not trying to do that in just everyday life, that would be my tip. Put yourself in their shoes. You know what you think, but if you can try and understand how they feel, then you move into a conversation which is more of a conversation as opposed to, well, this is the problem, we're struggling. And yeah.
How far into your business did you feel as though you need to scale up?
Oh, from the get-go. It was all about revenue and getting it as big as you could. Just make as much money as you could. We were in the ag game, so like the weather was a significant risk to the business. So we then that's when I left Goondiwindi, because it was like, I got to go to Brisbane because I got to fly around the country. I got to do work in Tassie because they might have rain, but they won't have rain in WA, or they won't have rain in Victoria and North Queensland, or wherever it was. It was trying to nullify the risk and just putting in. But I'd get a call. I'd be doing sales and I'd be making the calls, and I'd get a sniff of a lead and I'd be onto it, and I'd be like, right, I'll be there tomorrow. He goes, yeah, tomorrow will be good. And I'm there. You know what I mean? And had a wife that supported and understood that this was what we were doing. I think that's a key point I keep raising, because if you and your partner aren't aligned and you're starting a business, you're screwed. I don't know if you can do it. I don't know what stats are. I'd say you're up the creek without a paddle, because, and I'd just go and I'll be there tomorrow, and straight away, I'll make like, service. This bloke's here. So I think by default, you're already halfway there. So you got to get your price right now, and he's already going, this bloke's keen. That's what I want. I want someone who's keen. I want the tradie that's there tomorrow, but it doesn't always work out to be the best either. I've now come to learn in life. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean he's going to be good. Quite the opposite in some instances it's been. It's like, okay, he's here, and now I've just paid and the thing's all falling apart, but that was a big one, It was just being prepared to just put yourself. It was just all about that.
Everywhere,
I was all in.
Yeah, everywhere where you needed to be.
Yep, just all there. In. No plan B, and just prepared to battle it out.
Did you have strategies in place, or you just winged it?
We had strategies. Definitely tried to find opportunities that, like, we were looking for work that Aussies just didn't want to do. Entry-level roles in piggeries, like on a pig farm. The locally, the Aussies were just like, there was still a few pig, but it was a pretty labour-intensive. There's a smell. Fruit picking then became another one. Like there was certain, and then it was like, righto, well, how can we supply something legitimately, because the industry was full of non-compliant behaviour, which is predominantly cash. So people on Centrelink that are getting cash, that maybe on an illegal visa, but a lot of the time they're just legals. They're just getting cash because they're getting Centrelink, and know it inside out. But we just targeted certain things that we picked mangoes one year, and the year before the farmer said to me, we finished last year with 5 people out of 150. And I went, why is that? Oh, it's hard, mate. It's hard. Oh, okay. And the first day started, and he starts going down. He's effing this and effing that. And my supervisor, Vinny, who's now a shareholder of the business, says, mate, he's swearing and stuff down here. They don't respect it, So go back up there, have a yarn to him, get him to stay out of it. And then all of a sudden, I met a Kiwi fella. He's the New Zealand beatbox champion 5 years in a row, this bloke said to me. I said, oh, yeah, show us. As if you're going to believe that. Without a demo. Yeah. Anyway, he shows me a demo, and I'm like, does Billie Jean. I remember him doing, but Billie Jean, and I'm like, he's real good, So I said, mate, we're having a party on Saturday night. You want to come in? Free piss. Yeah, so he comes in. We got 150 of my crew around. There's me, my uncle, heap of other older Aussie fellas driving trucks, and then the rest of backpackers, European, Asian, everything, every nationality. My uncle and I have been cooking hundreds of snags and feed them up, and then Beatboxer comes out, does a show for about half an hour, and everyone's just, wow, like never have we done a job in Australia where we've had a concert live. And I remember the rest of that mango harvest, mate. That crew, everyone, we were running. Everyone, me, backpacker, everything. And we finished, and I think we lost 2 people. And we were managing all the mango rash and all the things that come with it, the heat and the exhaustion and the small accommodation. And everyone would know, where are we going? Where are we going? And I'm thinking, we got nowhere to go. Like, that's it. I got to go and find the next gig, you know. But at that point, I learned a valuable lesson in life. You know, it's like, just look after people and get around them and treat them with a bit of dignity and a bit of respect. Give them a little bit of time to learn the skill, and then good things can happen. And so that was cool. That was one of the big highlights early, and I think it taught me a lot about people and a lot about teams, and that you could get a shit job done.
So it took a Kiwi fella to bring the people together.
Took the Kiwi lad. And he was good. I wish I knew where he was now. Yeah, he was a cracker. He was really good, and it was.
He might be back in New Zealand. If you're watching this, contact us.
Yeah, Mataranka, 2010 or 11.
Are you always playing golf through this stage too?
No, definitely not. No, when I was a young fella, I remember my granddad said to my mum, take him down to golf, because I remember going to the Blue Mountains where they lived, and he'd take me on the golf course, and I just loved it. Like, I loved just obviously playing. I was playing sport, so I was like, this is so good. And he'd be like, mate, you don't stand there, you tuck your shirt in, you do this. Like, my grandfather was staunch, you know what I mean? Came out of an orphanage, got a pretty dramatic story, and he was very strong, like elbows off the table, very staunch, very strong man. And so I loved it. And then so Mum took me down to the Goondiwindi Golf Club, and we'd play on Sundays every now and again. But, you know, back then it was loose. The boys were leagueies playing golf, and it was, you know, all kinds of stuff going on. And so when I went away to school, golf pretty much stopped. I never played golf until, like, I remember we do an annual trip now. I've been doing for about 10 years. Until I got on that trip, you'd play golf sporadically once a year, once every 2 years. You know, I still have a baseball grip. Like, no golfer has this. That's my signature. That's my trademark. I think it is out there, but I don't believe any pros have got it. Everyone locks the finger or does something to keep their hands still, whereas I'm still just holding it almost like a baseball bat in a cricket, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so what's the hold?
It's like an interlocking grip.
Okay.
So the two fingers come in, and
I didn't even know that.
And so that's where it played, mate. And then it wasn't until 2023, Jarrah, that fella I was telling you about before, we had a game, you know, and he said, mate, you want to have a go at this competition golf? I said, I don't know, but probably not. Sounds too intense. Oh, come on, mate. You know, and first game we had, sure as enough, nearly got into a fight with another couple of blokes. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. I said to him, mate, I'm not in it. I'm not into this shit. I just don't come out here on a golf course to get involved in a squabble around a petty rule. And anyway, so it nearly ended before it began. But I love it. Like, I love it. Was golf was one of them things. My love for it's different these days. I used to be able to really enjoy just reflecting on the good shots, whereas now it's a different process around it.
So you started playing golf like later, really?
Yeah, handicap, like getting a formal handicap was the first time, was at the back end of 21 or 22. And
what was your handicap then?
Yeah, 18. So playing as a young fella definitely got my hand-eye locked in. I had a handicap when I was a young fella. It was probably about the same, you know, about 18, you know, when I was playing a few Sundays in a row and whatnot. And then so I got it, and it was 18, and it stayed 18 for a couple of years because I hardly played and wasn't playing any comp and all that sort of stuff. And then when I started with Dale in 2023, started to then put a few more handicaps in. So then it went down to 15, and then sort of hovered between 15 and 12. And then that's when I was around that 15, 12, that's when I started to go. Well, my mate said, and I speak to it in the doco, I think, where Nipey and I were on the piss, and he said, you know, I could come pro in 4 years if all I did was play golf. And I remember at the time I just joked it. I just said, mate, no chance. You're like, no chance. You know, you're not getting better fast enough now.
So you said this when you're on the piss.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like, you know, when you're on the piss with your football mates, and they're talking about Oh yeah, nah. I was the best footballer. I was this. I was that.
Yeah.
I
smashed Southern Hill.
I smashed.
When he was a kid.
Yeah, he was nothing when I was. It's like, so you're talking like this.
Exactly. You know, we had some success. We had a lot of challenges through business, but we had some success. And I realised through the success that the questions I was asking myself on what's my purpose and what's the point of life, they weren't even close to being answered. Financially, I was putting our family in a secure position, but it wasn't fulfilling me in any way. I was learning. I was learning a lot about myself and about making money and what that looks like. Obviously, leading into me formalising going pro, it was just like, no, this is not going to define me. I'm not going to keep just working, making money, and just rinse and repeat. That felt like Groundhog Day, you know, because you'd been doing it for 15 years and you were still doing it. And you know, to the learnings, well, mate, the learnings are just keep doing it. If it's painful, it'll probably pay off, but just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Smart enough to learn from your mistakes. You should get relatively competent and good at it. And so then it was just like, okay, I've done this. Like what? And how long am I going to keep doing this for? Like till I'm 50, 55, 60? Just doesn't feel like a life that's really lived. Like it's like if you're in the Matrix, so you're doing what you're told, you know, you got to make money, you got to buy a house, you know, need all this stuff to live. It's expensive to live, and you want to make sure your kids, you know, if they get sick, you got enough money to take care of them and all that stuff. And that was good. That was all good, but it was just like, no, it's not enough for me. It's not.
So all the successes that you have, a businessman, making good money through your business, you got a good family, loving environment, and you still, I wouldn't say you're not happy, but you still don't have fulfilling your purpose.
Yeah, 100%. That's spot on. And that was sort of hard to swallow. That was a strange thought to have no answer to. It was just like, what? I thought I'm meant to be happy now. Did what everything we think we need, that we say we need, and what, here I am still. I could acknowledge exactly that. Like I could pull myself out of it and see it for what it was, and it was just like, wow, man. Like, and then obviously me mate Tone getting his illness. That's when I think I really started getting the growth, and that's when I started pushing the button on something else. You know, like I started running. And I never thought I could run because just my body's not. And that's when I started to. I remember going out on a social game of golf and I shot 3 under on the back 9. And the boys were asking me, "What are you doing?" Like they wanted to know, "What are you doing? How'd you do that? Like what'd you do?" I said, "I just been running." It's bullshit. You running? I said, "Just been running." And they said, "Nah, mate." I said, "I'm telling you." So when I'm standing over the ball, I'm not thinking as much. I'm just doing, like, because my self-belief was getting because I was doing something that was hard that I didn't think I could do, and I think that's what I've learned is when you're doing something that is harder than you thought you could possibly do, that's when the self-belief gets a booster.
And also doing something for you, just even achieving that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Renee, with having something outside of work that's for you is really critical, and I think that's what really puts a lot of couples the extra pressures. They're both hooking in. They're both, you know, whatever their role is or dual, they're doing it.
Because I think a lot of men love to be in your position, to be successful financially with your family.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're still not feeling happy.
Yeah.
As in having that purpose.
Yeah.
And I feel like at times for myself, and that's how I think to myself, like people would love to have what I have, you know, whatever it is, you know, like a job, food, shelter, a loving partner, a family. And I think that's what I do to try and ground myself. But so you're on the drink and you're talking about that if you were to go full time, that you for 4 years you go pro.
Yeah.
So how did that turn into from that
to reality?
Yeah.
I was searching for that answer, and I thought, like, I really wanted to give up drinking. For the last few years before I started going pro, at least a couple of years, I was like feeling after parties or social events, I was feeling bored. I was getting so bored, and I felt like resentment to it a little bit. Like I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I'd talk to Morgs about it, and I was like, I think it's me. Like, I think it must be my problem because no one else is feeling this way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just bored with it. I'm just over it. So obviously an age must be coming into it there. And it's just like, how do I get off the piss? You'd be going good. You're off the boozer. Your sister gets married in America. You wake up the next morning. Morg says to me, so this is March 2023, I think. Do you remember talking to that Latino woman? And I'm like, no. What time was that? She said, that was 3. I said, oh. She said, no, it's all good. I came over there. She's like, oh, your wife said what you're talking about, mate. And I was just like, blackout. You know, hadn't been drinking for 6 months. Nothing. No problem. No drama. She didn't have the shits. But then she said, when did you last remember? I said, like, when I gave you them gin and tonics and you didn't want them. And I drank them all because she didn't want them. I got 3 for my sister and her and that. And anyway, so she's not got any dramas. But it's like, here I am, blackout 5 hours for 5 hours of my sister's wedding, and I've got 3 kids at home in the unit. And I swore I'd never do that in my family home. Like, I'd never bring that drunk alcoholism at home. And so that was like, far out. Like, here I am again. It's just, you've been so good, and one night you could have done something stupid, even though no intent, but could have been taken the wrong way, could have caused a big argument, could have gone so many different ways. And for what? For what? And you can't even remember it. So that was pretty much it. Like, that was right. I'd have we'd always got ideas, always drinking, always coming up with crazy thoughts. And then it's like, righto, what am I going to do? How the hell am I going to? Because every time I'd go 3 steps forward, inevitably I would fall off the thing again. And it'd just be, and you were like, it's just too risky. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it. And so I didn't know how to stop. So to be honest, the going pro idea was, one, I love golf. So I'll get better at golf with the idea. The big one was really I had to find something that I could absorb peer pressure and resist temptation with. And so then that's when I brought the film idea into it, because I was like, I'm accountable because I've committed and I've got other people involved in it. And so that's, to be really honest, it was as much about changing my life as it was about dreaming about making the Australian Open. And the coach that I ended up finding, Gillo, who I'm with now, and he backed it. And I was going to start. I had these dreams of, one day I'll start this and I'll do it full time. And he said, no, you won't be doing this full time. You won't be doing golf full time, mate. It'll spit you out before you even begin. You need to start something now because your life needs it. And so then I went, okay, so you'll coach me? He said, maybe. He said, come and do the assessment. I need to see what your body does. So I went away, mate, and I just as soon as he said maybe and he said do the assessment, I just stopped drinking. I just started training the house down. The next thing I came back to him, I was 10 kilos lighter. He was like, oh, okay. I think he started going, this guy's, that's quick, like he's moving. And then he was like, okay, he's serious, you know, and then we just chipped away. But that was in year 1, and year 1 for me was always going to be about if I could get to the end of the year, because it's all good to write all these things down and to dream about it, but my track record hasn't been the greatest. So it was like I still had this doubt that I'd be able to maintain discipline for a whole year. And so as it went, the first sort of 3 months of the journey were amazing. Like, as I went from, I had this goal now, I had this commitment, I had purpose, I was locked in, and I was losing weight. My handicap was coming down. I had new habits. I was off the piss. I was saying no. You know, I was drinking soda waters. I was ticking all these boxes and I could feel that I was looking at myself better. And then everything was cruising. And then I had a drama with netball. We were losing. I was coaching, and I couldn't get the girls over the line. You know, they'd win some games, but we weren't at the top. And anyway, I had some challenges there, and I took it really personally when I had some altercations with the mothers, like, oh, my kid and this and my kid and that. And I'm like, oh shit, I want this worse than you can ever imagine. Like, I don't like these girls and the girls, everything I set out to do, they were doing, and that was what was hurting me. They were turning up to training. We had great culture. We had commitment. Everything they were doing was bang on, 10 out of 10. We trained harder than any other team in the comp, any other team at the club, tick, tick, tick. but we just couldn't get over the line on the Saturdays. And then my golf and everything got really hard because I just started taking it personally. And so that was at the back end of last year, and it'll come out in these next couple of episodes what happens. But that was, so year one was really about just staying the course, like just resisting the urges and really, it was easier to resist temptation. I resisted it, but it was easier to resist with my mates, my close mates. And people say that'd be your hardest. I was like, a lot of my mates, like, because I had this goal and they were aware of it, the peer pressure was less. There was still moments for sure, but the boys were supportive of it, and lots of comments of support along the way. Just the road I had to take to get there. And I firmly did believe, based on what I said when I was earlier, not being like just chipping away and getting better at something over a couple of years when you're a kid, so all you focused on was it. But why not? Like, I know it's all been said by people before. I just thought, why not? If I do just go to places I've never been before, I can use all the experience I've had. I just thought, who knows? Like, maybe I can. Like, because you just got to hit the ball in the middle of the fairway, and then you just got to put the thing on the green, and then you just got to putt it in. Like, that's all it is. That is all it is.
Sounds so simple.
So if I can figure out how to do that, like, I don't even need to learn how to hit it out of the bunker, because I don't hit it in the bunker. I just go the green. Not possible. And I still don't know how to hit it out of the bunker. So in my head, I'm like, oh no, it's in the bunker. I'm going to get a bogey. Like, I'm still there. Like, I'm hitting a lot of fairways now and a lot of greens.
I've seen your coach, your golf coach, and remember one of the things he told you is, don't think, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just swing.
Just swing.
Stop thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I really respect him. Like, I hear other blokes with coaches and technical, and I used to tell me mates, he's not even trying to change me grip or me swing, but he was. But he just the way he was going about it, he was just like, mate, relax. He said, you must be cooked when you come off the course. I said, oh, kilo. I'm like relieved. He's like, mate, that's not sustainable. The main thing I work on with him now, I'm doing fundamental work with trying to disassociate my hips and my shoulders, and trying to get power and do things that, because I'm stiff as in the back. Like, my assessment, TPI assessment, is rank. It's like a 24, and a good golfer should be under 8 and under. It's really bad. Like, I got bad range of motion and all that sort of stuff. The main thing he says to me, and this is what I'm trying to carry in my everyday life, is my emotional score. What you talk about, T, like being centered, not being erratic, and like you've had 10 coffees. And not being down here at the lethargic, don't want to be there. Just right here in the middle, energised, keen, but calm. And so I do a journal on that. So he's got this journal for me that I do every competition round. But I do it also, I'm really aware of it because that's all I'm focusing on. So the other day, like this week, I got a double bogey on the first hole, and I'm in the middle of the fairway, and like, you shouldn't get a bogey from the middle of the fairway with 120 metres. Like, you just put the thing close to the green, get it in, as I said before. But I got a double. I'm just like, wow. And then just worked my way around the course and just made up some shots. In the past, that would just, with such a low handicap, that then starts to play in your mind. Whereas now I'm just trying to work on, it doesn't matter, mate. Like, what are you worried about? What happened? What did you do? Don't worry about the score. Just what did you do? How are you going to fix it? And just keep moving forward.
You're more aware of it now too, eh? Aware of the process of it.
Yeah.
And then how to regulate yourself, not to overthink it, not to dwell on it.
Overthinking's been a big problem for me. It's caused me a lot of pain in life, and people have always said, mate, don't overthink it. And I'm like, oh, geez, that's profound. Thanks for the update. No shit. No shit.
It's such a massive mental game.
Yeah.
Golf.
Like, I think I'm coming into I think I'm coming into a really good period now. Like, I know I am because I didn't handle the pressure well when it come down to it at the back end of year one. And I was like, wow, it was really noticeable when I finished these 2 big tournaments that I'd been working my ass off to make, and I made them, and I should have been happy just making them. I remember waking up the morning after and looking over at Morgs, and I said, hey, babe, can we go to the beach today? And it was crazy because it was just like,
letting go.
Yeah. It was really massive. Like, I was like, it was great because it was like such a moment of like real acknowledgement that
shit, you're not handling this at all. Like you are, because because I'm outside my comfort zone. So I know I'm growing. Like I know I'm growing. I know I'm where I want to be. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be in the comfort zone. I just don't. I wish I could, but I think I'm coming to terms with that's just not me. I don't want to be in the comfort zone till the day I die. The only comfort zone I want to be is in the wherever I die. That's when I can be comfort zone, because I know that I've got virtue and I've got restraint and I've got discipline. I've got these things that build me up and that keep me safe and keep me strong and keep me calm. But yeah, it was really acknowledgeable. So then we went overseas just recently, and I've never watched a TV series like ever, because I can't watch one for long enough, fall asleep, can't stay engaged, mind just wanders, blah, 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 all those sorts of things. I was relaxed. We went on a 7-week trip. Morgan says, I said, I wouldn't mind watching something. I feel I can zone in. So we watched Vikings. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loved
Great
it.
choice.
Loved it. I was just like, wow, I want to be a Viking. You know? Because for years I've always thought it would have been easier to be at war. You know, and I don't say that lightly to anyone that's been, but my grandfathers definitely have. It's just like, in some aspects, you know, we've got so much choices, so much opportunity, you know, especially in Australia, you know, like we've got everything, you know, we're so rich, and it's just, you can do anything you want, you know, it's all there. It's, if you just put in, you can do anything you want. And I think through that process is just too much choice, and just, you know, and all of a sudden, and then started having some success, and then you're like, wow, like what? Still, you know, so I don't know. So then I think watching Vikings and getting history lessons of all the countries and really zoning into their political, religious, whatever his economic, all of the history of that country, it then started to, it just perspective. It just gave me more perspective. And then when you start thinking about Ragnar, why did he want to keep finding new land? Why did they keep wanting to find new land? It's not that different, you know, to me. It's just like we're still humans, and they wanted to die on the battlefield because they were going to Valhalla. And I'm like, well, I want Valhalla. They're not fearing. They're not fearing the result. They're not fearing the result. And that's what I want. That's how I want to play my golf. And I think I can get that through perspective and gratitude. And I'm getting, it's easy to get perspective and gratitude if you're being kind to yourself and you're showing some discipline. I think that's what I've learned. I might overthink on something, but I catch myself. And even when I was overseas, like I drifted. I was out of my routines, and all of a sudden the brain come in. It was like, oh, wow. All of a sudden the thoughts would stay longer. And then I was at the back end of the trip, and the boys said, oh, we're doing a 50K challenge this week. If it's not on Strava, it doesn't count. And all of a sudden I was back. Just took that one change, that one competition with the boys. And all of a sudden I was measuring all my steps. I was getting up early. I was going for a run. I was like, because I don't want to come last. You know, I knew I couldn't beat a couple of them, but I was like, I don't want to be last. I don't want to be last. And then a couple of weeks later, it was 60Ks. And it was like all the boys were back into it and doing the good stuff. And the energy on the chat line grew. And it's like, so it's proven to me that without trying to get something, if you're an overthinker or you're a little bit emotionally challenged or you've got a bit of aggression or whatever it is, if you haven't got something that's not money related, I'm not talking about a job, like if you're not trying to do something, that's why my brother, he's always been addicted to the gym, and he's known this for a long time. I remember always thinking, and he said, mate, if I don't have the gym, I wouldn't be able to deal with it, and I just wasn't like that. I was just like, yeah. But it was his saving grace, you know, sculpting his body. He's got a good rig, so he put a lot of time into it. But this is just the path I took for me, and it's probably not the same. It wouldn't be the same for everyone else. But I did feel, you know, going back to, you had everything, you've got everything, and you're still asking why. I am still 100% asking what's the point of life. Like I still am. And I'm listening to a lot of stuff. Like I'm listening to a lot of Alan Watts. Like I'm doing a lot of stuff. Like I feel great. Like I feel good, but I still feel like there's something coming. Like I still feel there's a few things that, you know, we were speaking to before that definitely I want to be a part of, you know, change. I felt privileged, and I felt that this privileged position of being born in Australia, being in the position I was in, having support, family, wife around me, I just felt like earning money and living my life over here. I just felt like that just didn't feel like me. It was just like, well, that feels like a waste. Like you've been fortunate to you had your little challenges here. Could have gone either way, in that 18 to 24. You could have really done, you could have ended differently. So you didn't. You met a woman. You could have fucked that up. You didn't. And here you are. And so what are you going to do now, big boy? What are you going to do? Well, guess what? I can't do shit just yet because I got to get better. Like I got to work on myself. I got to do things I've never done before. And then once I keep doing those things and I keep getting strong and I learn how to manage all this expectation, which I'm getting better at, and ideally I make the Australian Open. I reckon then I'm getting closer to finding my purpose and my why, and I'll be able to articulate it, and I'll obviously along that journey of where I was to now and where I'm trying to get to. My wife will tell me if something's not right, but all the language I'm getting from her at the moment is positive. She's like, no, you're driving again tonight. That's great. I'll have a few wines. It's just, she loves it. No, don't worry about it. Luke can drive, It's like, yeah, I'll drive you. Yeah, so she deserves it, like she put up with some shit, back in the day, and that's a really fortunate position I'm in to be able to repay the faith, and that's something that means a lot to me.
Do you have a certain routine that you do before you start your comp?
Yeah, I do. I'm slowly perfecting it because up until now I've still managed work, and I was coaching netball, I was still working, and I was just fitting in golf around work still a bit, but now I've stood down from day-to-day operations. They'll probably be the first a lot of the guys at work have heard. I've just ghosted it a bit. I've worked it out with Case and the executives. So now I'm trying to go from a just an everyday bloke with a job to a professional athlete, and so that's been an interesting transition. And so I've still got some responsibilities there with work and some commitments, but yeah, getting that daily structure in place is where I'm at. So from a golf perspective, for competition rounds, 2 days ago my tee time was 7:20, so I was like, right, I prefer a bit of a later tee time now that I'm not working, so I can not wake up so early. So I woke up at 4:30. First thing I do, and I don't think any of the health advocates will probably agree with this, they'll tell you to drink a litre of water. I drink black coffee straight off the bat. So I get that buzz. I look forward to that buzz. So I think that's the old addictive personality of me coming out. It's like, oh, yeah. And then it's like, right, do some stretching. I do a broomstick warm-up, just stretching, and then I'll do these other stretches for my back and whatnot. And then I'll get into the golf course, and then it's not set in stone yet, Renee, which it should. Well, maybe not. Maybe you don't want to be too regiment because if the weather's out or if something changes or something happens with one of your kids, like you got to be flexible. You got to move with it a little bit, but definitely waking up, having a black coffee, stretching, practicing my gratitude, getting perspective, like trying to take some deep breaths. Don't turn the music straight on and do your routine. Like just try and acknowledge the day and that whatever happens today is not going to change you. And so try and remove the outcome and go back into like process mindset. Righto, today all I'm trying to regulate is my emotion. That's what I'm going out there to do. So then when something does go pear-shaped, if that's how I'm training my brain, then that's the moment where I'm going to rate that following afternoon. The afternoon, it's like, what did you do when you got the double bogey? Yep, it frustrated you, but you just went to the next tee and you had to hit the tee off. So you can't worry about it because you got to. So that's probably the big one at the moment is a stretching routine, and then sort of like going through that emotional mindset that today that's what I want to that's my outcome is a 5 emotionally, regardless of the score.
Because you spoke about manifestation and you spoke about it when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That's what you did, and then you spoke about it when you wanted to make change in your life and you manifested your wife. Is manifestation one of your big things leading into pro golfing?
I reckon. I think so. Yeah, it's just a really constructive and positive mindset. even a young fella pulled me up the other day. I said, "See you young fellas, he kept out driving me, and I hit perfect drive. I was like, wow, I'm still 20 meters away, you know. And he'd say, you got to stop talking about being an old fella. He's probably right. There's no point saying it, even if you're joking. Like, what's the point of it? Say less then. Just don't say as much. Like, I've always been that guy that if the room starts to fall silent, I don't want that awkward silence. So I've always filled that void. And for the last few years, like a long time, I've been working at not being that. But as a salesman and the head salesman of trying to build a business, you become really good at learning body language and reading the vibe. And so you get good at small talk, you know. Whereas now I'm at that point where I'm like, as I was saying, when I was drinking, I was getting bored. I think it was because of everything I'd done. I was getting sick of small talk. If it wasn't serious and we weren't talking about growth or someone that needed help, I was out. I was just like, I don't want to talk about that person. They're not here. I don't care about that. I actually don't care about the politics either. Because what are you going to do about it? Are you going to do anything about it? If you're not going to do anything about it, I don't really care what your opinion is, because it's just like my opinion. It's just an opinion. It just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to do something with it, I'm all in. But if you're not going to do anything with it, let's have a chat. But I find a lot of times people can't handle talking about religion and politics. I can. And people will argue, no, you can't. You know, I was like, I can, because like Trump, hate Trump. I like some of the things he's doing, and some things I just go, what? This is crazy. What's going on? But again, it doesn't really, it's not going to get me angry or unhappy, because tomorrow I'm waking up, I'm going to practice gratitude, I'm going to do my stretching, and I'm going to feel grateful. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. And that's going to drive my behaviour tonight on a Saturday night. Now I'm good. The first few months was like, God, kill a beer, you know, like love to have a beer right now. And maybe, you know, I had a few beers on holidays when I was away. It was so quick. It was like you'd had a couple of beers, you'd had 2 beers, and it was like you wanted one the next day. And then the day after that, and you got this urge thing going on again. And it was good to acknowledge it and realize, wow, there we go. But then came back and I was just like, that just happened too quick, you know, like there was, and so now I'm just back on the train, you know, because it just proved to me again that, but it was controlled. I enjoyed feeling tipsy, but again, it was enough for me to realise it was the slippery slope. It was the start of something that just can come undone again. And I think having this goal is, so I got to experience that in a controlled environment just with Morgan and the girls. So she had input around it, and then it was like, right, you're back now. And I think, and through it, to be honest, mentally I was bad. Like I was chasing it because we were on holidays and I was loving it being on holidays, but mentally it got hard again. It was like, but the thoughts are getting harder to control. So the little demons are coming back in straight away, attached to the alcohol, not doing your fitness, not getting up, not doing any golf. You know, all the fears of failure come in, and then all of a sudden you start feeling it. It's like, oh gosh. So then I've come back, and as soon as I hit the floor, Morgan said, oh, you feeling jet lag? I said, not one bit. I don't have time to feel jet lag. I've got to drop 10 kilos that I just put on in 7 weeks. And then just went and just bang, I just started running. I was just like up, you know, she was getting no sleep. I was getting no sleep. I just didn't care. Like I was so locked in, getting back in, because I was so far behind, I felt. And then my golf in the last 2 weeks has been the best it's ever been. And it's like, okay, here we go. Can start to believe and dream again. And it's no coincidence. All the discipline and routine and determination and, you know, holding, like what's the word when you restraint, you know, not following that urge. You know, I just, at the moment I can just resist. I don't have to get a Kit Kat when I go and fill the car up, even though I love those little things, you know, like, yeah.
When you go feel, I wouldn't want a Kit Kat.
Oh, how good are they? Not the breaky ones like that, the bar.
Yeah, the chunky ones.
Yeah, I get full dopamine the whole time I'm eating it. Like it's just a release the whole time. But now it's just like, I know that resisting the Kit Kat, that will probably mean easier adoption of the process and the emotional reg, because it does impact me. It does. I was eating a lot of scones at the back end of year one, like from Baker's Delight. Shout out to Baker's Delight. I would like a deal with them.
Yeah, they're gonna sponsor you. Okay.
And like I'd eat these scones, I'd have a bad round, and instead of drinking piss, I'd go past Baker's Delight and get the fruit scone. But they had this special, had this peach and white chocolate and this raspberry and bloody white chocolate. Mate, I'd eat them and they were always so moist. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm going to get 2. And then I thought I was hiding them from Morgan. And then like, it was like, I'd been 3 or 4 times and she said, yeah, so what's going on at Baker's Delight? And I said, what? She said, I've seen the receipts come up on the card. And I'm thinking, what? That's like a $5 entry. Like what? Anyway, then she started getting automated texts and I didn't realise. I was trying to, now, lying to yourself, just kidding yourself. You know, like she don't put chocolate in the house because if she can avoid it, because I'm still not strong enough. Like,
Yeah, that's my poison too, chocolate.
That's why I don't buy it.
yeah.
If it's not in the house, it's not here.
You went to Bali, was it last year for that tournament?
Yeah, with the
And
boys.
with the boys. And
Yeah.
you end up getting on the bing tangs
Yeah,
there and you
that
come
was-
back and you were held accountable then, weren't you?
Yeah, that was right before we started going pro, like right before I started it in my head. The film crew wasn't meant to start then, but they said, oh, what, you're going to Bali with 20 of your mates? I said, yeah, hang on, I need to ring him and make sure it's kosher that you can come. And I rang the captain and he said, yeah, mate, it'll be fine, you know. A few of the boys were like, we don't want him here. Like, what are they doing? Film us? Like, this is dumb. This is some dumb shit, you know? And yeah, so the Jacko and Zach came on that, and most of these blokes are from regional Australia. Most of them are farmers in some form or fashion. So the boys, they're living a pretty high pressure life out there on the farm. And, you know, we go and play golf for 4 or 5 days, and yeah, the bintang itself, as far as a beer goes, if you felt like you were never pissed,
yeah.
you're having 20 a day. And in the end, you're like, just sick of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, but probably good in that form. So yeah, I went and had heaps. It was probably the most tame trip ever because, you know, what I was about to go and do, but definitely drank a lot of bintang. But I was sharing with a room with a mate, good mate, and he wasn't drinking. So he's got some videos that can't be shared of chats that we had that he took on the sly. And I'm like, mate, yeah, delete that chat. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. Like, some of it did make the cut. Yeah, then just came back and it's time. Like, this is it. This is going to change. This is going to happen. And then started wearing a glucose monitor to see what my body was doing to certain foods. And then just started cutting out. Like, that was when I cut out milk. And the weird thing was when I wore the glucose monitor, when I had milk in my coffee, like my glucose spiked, and I was like, okay, so it made it easy to flick milk because of the glucose spike. So then I was like, right, the glucose is get rid of the sugar. Just had this goal and had an accountability partner with the camera. It helped. And to be honest, my golf at that point in time was just like on the way up, was cruising. Like I was got my handicap to 2. And it was just like, I was like, wow, I shot under par 3 times. Like one day there at Noosa Springs, this guy, King Henry, actually said, play off the white markers, you know, put yourself in different positions. So I did that with a couple of mates, Toddy and Huey, and I shot 7 birdies and an eagle and 4 bogeys, and I shot 5 under. And that's when I started going, fuck out. But it was weird. Like everything just happened. It just was so easy that day. So everything was just cruising then. And then as I thought it would, it just hit a wall. It was after seeing Ree and Richie, but at the same time, looking back now, I was definitely still progressing.
So what you just said, your handicap's at 2 now? 4.
It's at 4. Yeah, in those tournaments, the biggest amateur tournaments in Queensland, definitely hard courses. They're set up hard. The pins are in hard positions. The markers are back further than you'd usually be. There's water and stuff everywhere. And so that blew it out a bit because it was like round, all these rounds set up tough, where if you go and play your local club, it's easier. So it just compounded. And I think that on the back, my game, I lost confidence. Yeah, I lost a lot of confidence, and I wasn't thinking the same. I was actually thinking, what am I doing? And right now, I'm not thinking any of those thoughts. Yeah, but that was tough too.
So you've got what, a year now before the tournament?
Yeah. So what are we now? Mid Feb, almost late Feb. So for me, I'm in like week 5 of year 2, and that's how I'm working it. It's probably a shortened year. It's probably only going to be an 11-month year. I'll just keep working on this emotional regulation. Obviously, I'll turn up every Monday, get coaching with Gillo. We're working on the fundamentals of my swing. I'll keep really zoned in on the strength and conditioning I'm doing. So this year, I want to get a bigger distance. I want to be able to drive the ball closer. So we've measured where the top amateurs are, and we've measured where Rory McIlroy is, and then there's me. And so when we start sharing this for season 2, we'll clearly articulate where I am today, where I need to be by December, and then there's top amateurs, and then there's Rory, and then in season 2, all this strength and conditioning I'm doing, I've got to be a professional athlete's figure by the end of this year, so that next year I'm literally
On the ground running with it.
yeah, like I'm in these amateur events. I'm competing for them. I'm not just filling a number. It's going to be a big year, and I'm sure there's going to be some really challenging times, and that's why I'm working hard on this emotional control now, because I know that, you know, on the days that are bad, you know, when you're sculling chips, you know, and you're like, oh wow, like this is really bad, or getting beaten by guys that have got a higher handicap or whatever. There'll be those moments, I'm sure, but hopefully not.
Because you've got a pretty good team around you. You've got Gilly, you're the coach.
Yep.
You've got
Keith.
nutritionists.
Yeah, I've got a new nutritionist now. Yeah, Hayden. He works with the Sydney Roosters, and he's more of a high performance nutritionist. So Victoria was about she worked with addicts. I met her through a rehab facility, and I didn't go. One of my good mates went there, or a bit of a workshop there, and he said, "Oh mate, talk this chick," you know. So she was all about just abstaining from everything. Carbs are bad, fruit's bad, you know, all these things that I did to lose the weight and change, and it was good. Whereas now, as with anything, the differing opinions. So Hayden's like, "Nah, mate, you need the right amount of fuel for golf. You need the right amount of fuel for your training, so you can optimize. Everything can be burning and fueling, and you're getting the results you want." He's not really focused on weight loss like it was. He said we'll do a calorie deficit, and so I'll do that with Haydos, and then Keith on the strength and mobility. So all my weight sessions are all centered around like the power that I'm trying to get out of my swing, whether it's and the disassociation, like my hips and shoulders to be like, you know what I mean, my hips to be there, my shoulders come, then my hips come, and then it's hard. So they're sort of, I've probably shortened it up, mate. Like I'm not working with Jeff at the moment. He's not practicing my psych. I don't have a psych at the moment other than my own knowledge, my friends, and probably Morg's. But I feel okay with that. Like I've tried to simplify it. Like I've tried to just like wake up on Monday, I go here. On Tuesday, this is what I do. On Wednesday, I'm trying to get it like that, so that the simpler it is in my head, then the easier for me it is to assess how I'm going and what I'm doing. So every day I'm journaling to say, I did this much today, I did that much today. And, you know, we're measuring all my stats. Like I'm measuring how hard I hit the ball, how far I hit the clubs, all that sort of stuff. And then we'll measure that again in two months to see if the work I'm doing and all this stuff, is it having an impact on these key metrics here? And if it isn't, we have to change. But ultimately, yeah, try and so you're not doing work now. You can't use that as an excuse. You're a professional athlete now that does not get paid. You're doing what you want to do.
Living and breathing it.
You're living and breathing it, mate. And I feel grateful for it. Like I really do. And people, how bad do you want something? It's really hard to know, you know, because you can want it, but it can't become all consuming to the point where you're not engaged to what your daughter's saying. Yeah, and that has happened. You know, I've been in conversations before. I'm like, shit, I can't ask her to repeat that. It would just be rude. and I hate that. Like, I really hate it. And that's probably one of the biggest drivers for me, is when I'm in a conversation and all of a sudden something comes in that I've got to do, or that happened, or you know what I mean. And it's been there since I was at school, you know, like just not listening, just in my own head, and it's something that this journey, I'm hoping and I'm confident that it is changing. Like I am reconstructing my nervous system to the point where I am the noise is coming in, and I'm able to be in that moment. It's mindset and it's gratitude and it's easier said than done, and I'm sure in the moment they hate losing and all that sort of stuff. But the ability to train your brain to constantly, it can't just be on the golf course. It's got to be in everyday life. You have to be working on being grateful to be part of life rather than try and search it. Now I can say this, but I'm on my journey. I'm not there, but I know I have to be grateful for being part of life, as opposed to trying to find out what the meaning of life is, and the fact that you are healthy. You know, you don't have to stress, and your kids don't have MND, or you don't have MND, or you know you don't. But so just take a few deep breaths and just try and enjoy the ride. And I think I'm very close. I'm very close to it. You know, I was happy driving over here to see you guys. I was like, sweet, let's chill. You know, I was getting a bit nervous. I was like, what am I going to say? You know, how are they going to edit it? Like, shit, I could say anything. I'm glad we got that chat out of the way at the start. You know, got that. But it's like, I never set out on this journey for anyone else but myself. And I knew that if I get myself into these, if I can learn discipline and reconstruct my nervous system, I know that's going to be better for my close family. I know I'm going to be a better person and be able to find the meaning of life. And I think through that, even now, it's like you're still going through gratitude, you're still practicing it. It's like you still got to put the work in. Yeah, you still got everything, and you're playing golf every day. Like, but mate, if you're not happy now, I've got problems for it, and they're not good. So the power of the mind is something that I'm still firmly entrenched on learning about, and going pro is definitely a step in that direction. And this year will be another layer, and I'm looking forward to learning about it.
Because you got a lot of good mates that are former athletes.
Yeah.
Like Lottie Takuri, I see you playing golf with him, and you must pick their brain about what it takes to be at that level consistently.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be a difference, no matter what sport you play, at a professional stage? Is the mindset will be different?
I don't think so. No, like talking a lot, he was like, you know, he struggles on the golf course. He's just like everyone else, Like he gets nervous, so he's not taking that professional days back into golf because he's not there. But when I remember talking a few times about what was like, you know, for Queensland, he said was next level. Like he said, he said it was just adrenaline overload. It was just you really. He just said it was like eyes in the back of the head, you know. And he tells this great yarn about Gordon Tallis's. Like he made up a story. He said, "Oh, Gordy, did you see that in the crowd?" And Gordy's eyes were rolling in the back of his head. He couldn't think straight. And he's like, "They called your mum something." He's just like, "Right." And it was that game where he dragged Brett Hodgson over the So there's this yarn going on that Lottie stirred him up about, you know. But Lot says that, you know, back when he was playing, and Lot always plays it down. He's very humble. Like he's always like, "Oh, mate, I was just on the wing, you know. I just had to do my job." But he's very humble how he speaks about it. He's a very humble fella, Lottie. And a lot of time, always love hanging around, lots of fun. Huey McCluggage from the Brisbane Lions, he's a younger fella, obviously a lot younger than Lot and I share a lot of similarities in our age and times of life. And obviously he came over as a young fella from Fiji, and so that's a unique story too. But Huey McCluggage is a young fella for the Lions, and the Lions have now won 2 in a row and been in the last 3. And Hugh talks again. It's belief. It is the same. It's all humility. Ed Fagan, the coach, just talking to him and plucking. It doesn't feel like it's any different. It's just not fearing the result and knowing you've done the work. I think they would definitely be the thing. And then self belief comes from from those things. Like if you've done the work, you've done all you can, and you've got the right structure around you, then ultimately, no, I think it is the same. Just working on it, just continue to work on it. Like the results of that team under pressure and now moving into the Roger Federer, Carlos, like they're winning the tight games and then they're pumping them in the grand final because they just got the edge, mental edge. Mental edge, we've seen it so many times in sport too, when a coach goes out and they put in a new coach and no one's changed in the team and then it's a different team. It's like, what? That's not the coach. That's the players. Yeah, the coach has an impact, but the players have changed their mindset or something has happened, whether the coach did it or what. So the results speak for themselves. So that's for me. Year 2 is doing the work, trusting the work, and then yeah, definitely try and lean on people. This year I'll be definitely trying to lean on a few other people that have done it before, like Rhiannon with the diving, when she said to me, oh no, I still get nervous when I stand up here on 24-metre platform. And I said, you shouldn't be getting nervous, mate. Like, that's like, you could die, you know? And she's like, yeah, I know. So I said, well, how do you counter it? And she said, I just have to go back to process and what I've done and my training, and just when I dive off there, I'm going to do this. And it's like, so it's the same. It's exactly the same thing. And that's why learning off them is helping me now. I think I'm learning more now, looking back and thinking about it. And Richie was the same, you know. Richie's UFC fighter and a big wave surfer. He still charges big waves. Like, he's a madman. Like, he's got different blood. Like, his blood's just a little bit different. Like, the boys I'm working with now doing the film, and they surf, but they're like, no, we would never charge that wave. Never. You know?
It'd be so cool, like you're getting the opportunity to hang around and be around these type of people, eh?
Very privileged, mate. Yeah, very privileged, and I'd very privileged, yeah, and very grateful. You know, it's up to me now to learn from that and to try and to make it. And I got my brain scanned in America back in 2023. My brother was worried about early onset Alzheimer's from football, and so I went over there and got it, and they scan your brain and they scan your brain under cognitive and emotional pressure, like these tests, they're all timed, and then they scan it with you just being chilled. So then they look at your brain under both those situations, and mine was very clearly, as I think most would, when it's under that pressure, it shows where the blood goes. So for me, it went to that anxiety part of the brain. It's like you're freezing up. That's what it was like when I was doing exams. I just froze up as soon as I got in the classroom, you know. And then when I was nice and relaxed, I had all this blood flow. And then I told him a story when I'd been on one of these benders that I could play any song on the guitar. I could play I was just killing it on the tennis court, and I hadn't been to bed 2 days. And I was just a freak. Like, I could pick up songs I just wouldn't try because bar chord moving too fast or the lyrics too fast. I was just like, I wouldn't try it. Then you could pick it up under a bender and you'd get it. And he'd like, oh, I don't understand the link. I said, well, mate, the link is I was so tired I couldn't overthink, and I had so much blood flow because I was so relaxed that something that I found nearly impossible straight I could do. And so trying to just think about all these things and bring them into what I'm trying to do, that the relaxed, calm state of mind is the only way I'm going to I can't even dream about it if I can't regulate my emotions. Like, the other thing too that Rhea and Richie told me is to embrace that nervous energy. That's why you want to do it. Like, and I'm trying to find that. So rather than fearing competition days, like they're the days I'm like, oh, good, I get to go out here and be serious. I'm not stuffing around with the boys. Like, I can just lock into my process every time. You know, I can take my time. Like, I don't have to worry about everyone else where they're standing and if they don't know the rules, you know, or anything like that. Like, all the people behind me, like everyone that's out there in those comps, they know state of play. They know the basic structures of golf, which for me, when I'm playing with the boys, sometimes it's like, oh, shit, or anyone, someone's hitting up on us, or, you know, we're hitting up on someone else, and it's like I haven't figured out how to block that noise out yet, but in comp I can, because I know there's others dealing with it as well.
Because in your last episode you were getting baited, eh? So
yeah, that was sort of, I know, the exposure therapy to being heckled.
Yeah, being heckled.
Yeah. I actually played all right that day. Again, missed heaps of putts, but that was a good learning. Like, I could hear him, and he's like, oh yeah, he's trying to he's getting personal. You know, it's like, and he was. And then Jacko, the film boy, got in too, and he knew shit. So he's throwing barbs that, you know, personal barbs he knew of that we'd had in chats. But and it did, you really then had to focus in that tree, that shot, And I remember at times going, wow, like you want to just stop your ears because you couldn't think. And it was really good. We were meant to do a lot more of it, and I think it would have a really good outcome. But yeah, I'm on the right track.
Yeah, and the other one was King, where he stitched up big time.
Yeah, he stitched me up. The King can't help himself. He's a unique character, and I actually learned a lot from him. There's some valuable information from the King. No, I'm probably lucky. It cost me a bit, but it was probably valuable.
Yeah, because he's a.
Oh yeah.
Why is it so funny that to watch someone in hurting, pissed off is so funny?
Yeah.
I found it funny seeing you like that.
Yeah, cool, mate. No, I wasn't
So
laughing.
nice.
Yeah, it's so nice too. Yeah. But no, my brother was the same. Like my close mates were like, they were like, mate. But they laughed too. Like they're laughing too, going, "Hey, you wanted to throttle him," I was like, "Yeah, I did." But I learnt more in that. But it was up until that point. That was the first day that the Going Pro journey felt like work. Before then, it hadn't, and I really struggled at that moment because I was like, "Wow, this feels like I'm having to do something that I don't want to do for the sake of it." And when you look back, it's like, yes, that's exactly what you were doing, mate. So now this year is about, I played him this week actually.
Oh.
Yesterday.
Oh. How'd you go? Did you get back at him?
No, he beat me by one shot. But I hadn't had any sleep. I got home from Brisbane at 2 a.m. and I had to be there at 5:30. So I was really tired. That's my excuse. And but no, he was still his usual chatty self. But I am going to get back. I will beat King. There's no doubt. In the next 12 months, I'll beat King unless he practices more, because I can see a few glitches in his armoury. But he's definitely a better putter than me and a better short game. But I can outdrive him now because he's not in the best shape, so I'm getting in good shape. So he's a little driver now, I've noticed that. So he will be watching this, so I'm coming for you. You better start practicing, mate. And but yeah, so play against him and just try and play better golfers this year. Like every week, my goal is to be playing against someone who's better than me, and that's plus 1 or 2 comp rounds. So I'm hoping that everything that we've spoken about, the journey I've been on in my life, and really living and breathing this emotional control, that I should be able to perform to my ability. And my ability will get better if I put the work in and I listen to the coaches and I apply myself. It should get better. Gillo, the coach, says, yeah, it should get better. You should be scratched by the end of the year. So shooting par or birdie rounds every time. Right now, like, I finished 4 over. I'm like, that was good. Glad I got that done, just keep believing. Just keep believing. I suppose that's why I've got the camera in some way. Like I do feel like anything can happen. Like I do honestly believe it. I'm not just taking the cameras, cost money. Like I'm not just doing it for my own ego. Like I don't need to do it. And I don't have any time for anyone other than my friends and family. Like there's not enough time in the day, but I do feel that there's going to be some tough times, and I hope that through that learning and the camera that may encourage certain decisions for other blokes. Predominantly, it's a male audience. My statistics will show it's a 98%. So when I get all ripped and shit, I'll probably take my shirt off a bit more to get a few more ladies. But my wife's like, I don't think that will help, mate. But it's a 98% male audience between 25 and 54 at the moment, mainly golfing. I've seen some pretty poor behaviour on the golf course, so I'd like to think that the golfers out there could learn something, like with their own game and their own performance through emotional control and actually putting the work into it, because I do believe that you can't just go to the golf course and do it either. That's the beauty of it. Like the work you do for your golf game, you have to be living it. You can't just go and turn it on. You can try. I don't believe it's that simple. Some can, I'm sure, but Scotty Scheffler, he goes home, he gets checked, he gets into his faith. This is everything I've read, and And then he goes to golf course and, yep, he gets a little bit emotional because his expectations are now higher than what they were. That's the challenge too. You know, I've seen that with Cam Smith. You know, he was cruising. His strike rate when he was in contention was really high. And then lately you see him just wanting it more than who am I to critique those lads. But I do believe that the big one is just that everyday thing we're seeking of gratitude and acceptance and just emotional regulation and being able to just be in the moment and play the shot you need to play.
Before we go into our closing questions, I was going to ask, well, what's the future for Luke Brown? We obviously know that the future is to be in the 2027 Australian Open.
Yep.
Other than that, what's your future heading towards?
I don't know. It's exciting. I know that. I've learnt that retiring and is not a thing that I even going to talk about. Like, I think I want to be part of something that is learning. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just all in the now of what I'm trying to do, and then seeing who I am and how I think in another couple of years. Like, what is this journey? How have I grown? And maybe the things that I'm thinking about now have changed. Look, it could be anything, mate. If I make the Australian Open, maybe I just keep playing golf. You know, like ideally it'd be hard to walk away from the game if I got that, if I made it. And at the moment, the golfers, like, they're not threatened at all by me, and nor should they be. But we'll see. You know what I mean?
What's the feedback from the pros up there, or even the high amateurs towards what you're doing?
Yeah, mate. There's plenty of little comments on the YouTube and on around the traps that I hear secondhand, and it'd be good to understand it from them, but ultimately, yeah, no chance. Yeah, like zero, not even 1%. That's what they say, which does not really change anything, because like I just go, yeah, probably right. You know,
there is a chance because you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're fighting for it.
Well,
so there is a chance.
That's it. I break it down and just think, if I'm in that event to qualify, that's what my coach keeps saying. That's a win. But if I make the event, then it's just, like I said before, just hit the ball down the fairway and put it on the green. Like, how big are the greens? Well, they're usually, whatever, between 7-10 meters wide. Like, you got a variance there. Just try and get simple with it. Like, don't stress about it. Yeah, try and simplify it. I'll just keep learning. I'll just keep trying to learn off better golfers. But look, at the end of the day, the future will be, you just don't know, eh? We just don't know what's ahead of us. My mate's just battling with what he's battling with. So that keeps me really grounded in just today, and just do today. When you write your journal tonight and you look at it, you go, shit, mate, you've had a good day. Like, you've put in, you're showing this discipline, and I think just keep chipping away on that, mate. Eh?
Closing question. My closing question. We've actually been talking about through this whole time. What is the meaning of life for you?
And I think I'm still searching. Like, I'd be lying if I said I found it. The meaning of life is understanding that we're a part of it. Be grateful to be a part of it. Learn from your mistakes is definitely what life means to me, and then not make them again, and then you'll be closer to living the life that you deserve.
And my final question for you is, if your younger self was listening to this, what would you say to him?
If he would listen to me, I would say, buddy, don't start drinking. Like, just stay off the piss, mate. Like, do other stuff even. Just stay off the piss. But like, if I said to him, I'd just say, look, mate, it's going to be all right, man. So just hang in there and just trust that you're not a bad fella.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story with us today, and what you're doing, what you've done, your successes in life, and with this going pro. I think it's just awesome what you're doing. Thanks, man. You don't want to talk age, or to be an age and still have a dream to achieve something that's never been done before.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah, I'm just really on your team.
Thanks,
I'm on
brother.
the Luke Brown team, and
thanks, man.
Cheering for you. And I watched your journey on your documentary.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, just thank you again for this.
Pleasure.
And I'd love to do a follow up with you too.
Yeah, for sure.
Later.
Yeah. Let's do the end of the year, and we'll see if I've done what I said I was going to do, and I'm confident. Thanks, Luke Brown. Yeah, if you want to check out his documentary on YouTube, Going Pro.
yeah, definitely going pro. YouTube, get on the Instagram too. Come on, give me some followers. It's hard. It's hard to get followers. I don't know. I got to do some random stuff.
Oh, bro. Going
It's
pro,
going
eh?
pro _official.
Easy to find. Just put it in going pro.
Yeah, punch it in.
Yeah.
Punch it in.
Give him a follow.
Yeah, give us a follow.
Yeah, give them a follow and us too.
yeah, get on.
Bridges.
No, in all seriousness, I when you reached out and I was OS, I was like, nah, like not going on. You know, they won't come back to me anyway. So sweet. And then you came back, and I was like, shit. I'll stuff it. Let's do it. Because I felt I committed to you, and you followed up, and I thought this is just how I live my life. Like I said, I was going to do it, at least in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And I thought, let's just go and do it. So it's the first time I've done it. So I really appreciate it. Very relaxed environment, mate. And I hope I didn't get too lost in, my life. Like I don't know what my key messages are. Like Morgan said, I said, should I take notes? She said, no. She said, just don't get sidetracked and don't get off topic. And I said, this morning in the beach, in the surf, like right before I got in the car to come. And I said, Dale, so you want me in between now and going to T and Renee's place to learn how to be someone different? She said, yeah, probably a bit tough. Maybe take some notes.
You done amazing. You done awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure having a chat to you.
Yeah, it's been great. No, really appreciate it. It's a first for me, and I think it's helped me. I think it's part of my growth and part of sort of fine tuning some of these questions that we're asking ourselves. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And the way we go out with this, I always go laters.
Laters. Sweet.
Dad.
That's us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good.